David 122, it's list day. More importantly, it is day 3 of list week. Yesterday we talked about some cards that I think could come off the ban list and be perfectly okay to do so, but they would be semi-impactful to the format. They wouldn't just come off and be like Goyo Guardian and just never do anything. Or Poor Brio. But today is not that list. Today are 5 cards that, yeah, they can never come off the ban list without an errata. Absolutely not. Let's not beat around the bush and let's just get into it. Number 5 is Royal Oppression. Boy, this list is in really no particular order because these are all kind of really broken. Royal Oppression is a continuous trap that reads, each player can pay 800 light points to negate the special summon of a monster, or an effect that would special summon a monster and then destroy those cards. It's a continuous trap. This card's basically Vanity's Emptiness on steroids. Neither player is going to let each other special summon, and you are going to be in the worst game state ever. It's like, I'm gonna attempt to special summon. Do you negate it? Yup. Okay. I'm gonna attempt to special summon. Do you negate it? Yup. Okay. How boring. But not only that, but if you open this thing, you make a giant board and set this thing and then flip it during your opponent's, I don't know, draw phase. Ugh. At least with Vanity's Emptiness, you could like get a card to leave the field so that it would also destroy the emptiness so that you could, you know, kind of play around Vanities if you really had to and you had the resource to do it. But this thing, it's pretty much pop it with MST, Twin Twister, Cosmic Cyclone, or bust. Oh, this thing would be such a pain in the butt. I guess it's fair because both players can use it, but whoever sees it first is probably going to win the duel. But we really don't want cards like that. Number 4 is Mindmaster. This one's an interesting card because it's been on the ban list for a while now, and it actually got put on the list in that big dead zone where I wasn't playing. I stopped at the end of the, the classic era of Yu-Gi-Oh! And started back up at the beginning of Zexal. So during that whole GX 5Ds era, I didn't really play much. So I didn't actually ever get to see this card in action, but just kind of reading it through the ban list, yeah, this thing can't come off. It's a light level 1 psychic monster, which that's some really solid typing. You can pay 800 light points and tribute 1 monster to special summon 1 level 4 or lower psychic monster from your deck in attack position. Now you might say, oh, I mean, you gotta tribute a monster, so you pay 800 light points, so it doesn't even really net you any advantage, except for the fact you start to realize this isn't once per turn. Yeah, I have a feeling that sometimes they just forgot to put once per turn clauses on cards. This thing lets you loop through your entire deck and fill up your entire graveyard. The loops with this thing have to be crazy. And there, I believe I think it's a field spell that if you pay life points to activate Psychic Monster's effects, you don't actually have to do that. So you just have to tribute the monster. This thing would be a very, very cheeky card in Cosmos. With this card in like Sword Trooper, you could like extra link the crap out of your opponent. This thing I'm pretty sure just gets better over time because with like the advent of Link Monsters in Rule Set 4, we're just getting more and more things that this thing can abuse. This is probably should stay on the ban list. Mirage of Nightmare. This was a weird one. It's funny because it's kind of a do-nothing card. When you play it, it's a continuous spell that nothing happens. It just, when it finally kicks in, it does a lot. Once per turn during your opponent's standby phase, draw until you have 4 cards. What? Yep, you just draw almost an entire new hand during every one of your opponent's standby phases. And if you do during your next standby phase after you use this effect, you have to randomly discard cards up to the number that you drew. Or whatever is left in your hand if you actually can't discard the entire, let's say, 4 you drew or whatever it was. Why can this card never come off? Well, I could think of a bajillion decks that would absolutely love this. I'm pretty sure Lightsworns would salivate at the thought to get 4 cards out of their deck and then just dump 4 to the grave at the start of their turn. Zombies would love this, and pretty much any other deck that would require copious amounts of graveyard setup. Oh, I could play this in Tiny Turtle Turbo. But I think what really is the kicker with this card is if you happen to draw into Mystical Space Typhoon on your opponent's turn during their standby phase, you can activate Mystical Space Typhoon during the draw or standby phase when this thing is trying to make you discard cards so that it fizzles and you don't actually have to do that. Basically meaning you get to keep all the cards you drew except the spell that destroyed this. You can plus the crap out of yourself with this. Sure, it's a little slow and your opponent's probably going to do everything they can in order to deal with it, but I think just to be safe, this thing should probably never come off. Although, frankly, it's got awesome artwork and it might be kind of fun to see in the format. But no, it can't come off. Number 2 is Delinquent Duo, which I didn't do on purpose, but now I think about that, 2 being the duo is kind of funny. What does this thing do? Pay 1,000 life points, your opponent must randomly discard one card from their hand and then discard another card from their hand, but that one's their choice. Oh man, for 1,000 life points, you too can have a +1. This card is so unbelievably broken, and it's really kind of interesting because if some other card games, if they read this card, they wouldn't exactly know why this card is so good, because a +1 isn't necessarily everything and the end-all be-all. It is like it is in Yu-Gi-Oh! If you manage to go first and open this card, you would put your opponent at such a drastic disadvantage going second. They'd have to start the duel going second into your board with 4 cards. That's really awful. Sure, it doesn't let you actually look at your opponent's hand like some of the other like bell cards let you discard cards out of your opponent's hand, but the fact that it's a solid +1 for a mere 1,000 life points is just busted. If it doesn't sound like it's that good to you, imagine if they brought back Pot of Greed at 1 and they eroded it to have 1,000 life point cost. The card would still see play in every single deck ever. It's too sacky, it's way too good, but I love the card, man. It's got that classic broken Yu-Gi-Oh! Spell feel to it. It's just, man, the spell cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Are the only things that got reverse power creep like across the board. Like the first set of the game had some of the best, most broken power spells they've printed since, and now they're finally figuring out how to balance the damn thing. It's just really funny to see some of these old cards like this and Change of Heart and things like that. They're just so stupidly busted. Honorable mentions! And the honorable mentions for this list would have to be Elemental Hero Stratos. This thing can never come off the list because it's just too freaking broken. Screw you, Stratos. Nah, I'm kidding. He could probably come off the list, but he probably wouldn't do much. Yeah, he might. I don't know. I think Elemental Heroes are getting a new monster soon, so yeah, he might see some play. The actual honorable mention here is Victory Dragon. He could have easily been number 1 because, I don't know, he can absolutely never 100% come off the ban list under any circumstance, even in errata, because anything you do to this card would completely change how it works. However, because he is the only match winner in the entire game's history to ever actually be legal for any period of time and not automatically printed with can't be used in a duel, it means he's kind of an odd exception. He really should just get a reprint at some point with the can't be used in a duel thing and then just be taken off the list, because he's on the list, taking up a spot on the ban list, and he just can't come off. He simply can't, and he should never have been printed as a legal card to begin with. It's just really weird that he was. If you don't know what he does, he can't be special summoned. You can only tribute summon him by tributing 3 dragon monsters, and if he is in battle and attacks directly and reduces your opponent's life points down to 0, you win the match. Now, if you're not really paying attention, you're like, what? You win the game, but he just attacked directly and brought their life points to 0. You won anyway. No, it says you win the match, meaning if you bring this to a tournament, game 1, play this thing, poke their life points for game. You don't have to play games 2 or 3. You just automatically got the round. And that's tournament breaking and stupid, and the fact that this was legal for any period of time ever is ridiculous. No match winner should be legal because it's just too stupid and it ruins like the entire competitive scene. So yeah, he can't come off because he just can't, but it seems weird to put him at number 1. No, the actual number 1 that, can't come off the list, that's actually a practical card, would be Magical Scientist. Magical Scientist? Why do you say that, Dave? It's just a walking instant fusion, man. That's all it is. Yeah, but like Mindmaster, it has that inconspicuous lack of a once per turn clause. As a dark level 1 spellcaster with 300 attack and 300 defense, he's pretty searchable. There's a lot that can grab him or mill him or just get him out of the deck to begin with. So already he's really, really good just from like what he is as a card, but it's his effect that makes him busted. Pay 1,000 life points to special summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck that's level 6 or lower. You can tell it's an old card because it says that it can be special summoned in a face-up attack or face-up defense position. It actually specifies as opposed to just saying special summon it and letting you pick, because in these older cards they kind of spoon-fed you everything. Nowadays, if it doesn't say a position, we all are under the understanding that you get to pick. Those monsters summoned by this thing's effect can attack directly and they return to the extra deck at the end of the turn. Oh, but if they can't attack directly, you can't just swarm the field for like 4,000 life points and then swing for game. Dave, why is it so broken? Well, I mean, other than there's really no other restrictions placed on your turn with this thing. I mean, you can do anything you want with those fusion monsters. Sure, when this thing came out, it was probably just being used for like tribute spam and things like that, which was probably too good, but not super broken, but enough to find its way on the ban list. But new Magical Scientist has that unique privilege of getting power crept in the wrong way, and he keeps getting better and better the more mechanics we introduce in the game. Like I said, early days when all we had were fusions, he was just getting bodies on boards. You can find other uses for him, nothing too broken, but you could probably still push for game, utilizing those resources for other monsters. Not to mention Mirage Knight, and I'm pretty sure, now that I think about it, there's an OTK with this card. But nope, now that we got synchros, you can just add a tuner in there. You can make any synchro monster you want. Oh, now we got Xyz. You can just pay 2,000 light points for a free Cyber Dragon Infinity, or pay 3K for a Shockmaster. Ugh. Yeah, as you can see, you kind of see where this is going. Oh, now we got Link monsters. For like 6K life, you know, with some other kind of spammy engine, you too can extra link your opponent 3 times over. Yep. Could you imagine like this thing with Firewall Dragon? Ugh. So yeah, he keeps getting better and better. He can never come off the ban list unless he gets a once per turn, hard once per turn. Because if it's not hard once per turn, if it's a soft once per turn, people will loop him still. They'll find a way. And then he could probably come off. Could you imagine if this thing was legal with Norden? But anyway, guys, that was the list of cards I feel could absolutely 100% can never come off the list unless they get an errata. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think and what other cards you think absolutely can't come off. There's a bunch, because I only did 5, and like I said before with Delinquent Duo, that like whole 3 first sets of the game, just, you could probably pick any spell card in that set, and they probably all are a contender for the list. And remember, guys, if you don't troll the meta, who will? I'll see you guys tomorrow for the last of this week.
My Insect Queen thinks this is the best channel on the web. You should swat that subscribe button. Watch these other perfectly ultimate great videos. And stop bugging me. Click something or I'll exterminate you once and for all.